Guys, welcome back to another weekly DaaS Sales Workshop. And let's just give it a minute or two. There's one or two more people there in the waiting room trying to join, and then I will start it off. Alrighty, for whatever reason, I admitted that person and then they got bounced out of the room. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I'll just leave it open and I'm sure we'll have some more people joining. Oh, there, that person just came back on right as I was saying that. So I see we only have a couple on here to start, and that's kind of typical of these workshops lately. And normally we end up with somewhere between 10 or 15 people joining. Throughout the workshop within the next few minutes or even further. So I'll keep the waiting room open and obviously go through stuff. But what I want to kind of focus on here today, being a DaaS sales workshop, is number one, some updates and some stuff I have for you guys. I just kind of want to reiterate, and even if there's only three or four of you on, I'm going to ask a poll question, which is going to require a one, two, or three answer in the chat when I get to that. And that kind of is going to dictate what I'm going to go into next. But I have a few things planned. To go over today, and it's kind of contingent upon where you guys are at. I really want to highlight some of the biggest struggles or challenges. I kind of want to delineate or separate or have an understanding of where everybody's at within two or three areas of the business, and then that's kind of dictate where I go with this workshop, whether it's some more like back to basic stuff, whether it's some more advanced stuff, and we will dive all into that. So um I'm going to start by sharing my screen and going over some of the stuff that I normally cover here to start this workshop. I'll really quickly in the chat, thank you, Georgetta. Yeah, I had a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully everybody else on here did. I know we met last week on Tuesday, a couple days before Thanksgiving, but with my family, I was blessed enough to have two great Thanksgiving meals. One at my nephew's house a couple days before actual Thanksgiving Day. We probably had 30 or 40 family members there. It was great. My parents, my daughter, cousins, nephews, extended family, etc. So that was awesome. And then, we did a small little family one at my parents' house on Thanksgiving Day, which was just my folks, myself, and my daughter. So a nice small little intimate family gathering. And then the first one, again, I don't know, 30 or so people were at that. So yeah, thank you for asking, Georgetta. Hopefully you and your family also had a great one. Let me just see somebody. Oh, that's just their bot. I was going to say somebody else just came into the waiting room, but that's just another note taker. So nobody that needs admitting right now. Great. So, and there's the actual person behind the note taker. All right, great. So there's another person coming in. So anyway, I want to start off with what I normally share on this. I'm going to keep it really quick because I know there's a few of you it's super redundant for, but it also kind of plays into my updates and some of the stuff I want to go over here today. So first off, as you guys know, each week I kind of highlight and lead with this. And of course, this is the resource and the assets that I've created that is the closest or the highest correlating thing to everything you guys need to build out your sales process, right? So, as I always talk about, number one, a Google Doc showing the exact sales process I recommend building out that I built Audience Lab with and in my sales lab business. I've worked with somewhere between 12 and 15 additional outside companies that have hired my sales lab brand and company this year to go in and revamp their sales processes as well. And everything I do, again, to build our sales team internally, as well as in those other companies and businesses I just mentioned, is really built into this doc and streamlined from a DaaS, from a data as a service standpoint, right? So really quickly, just for anybody that hasn't seen this, or there might be one or two newcomers, let me just copy this link. And as I go over it, in case everybody doesn't have it, I'm going to go drop this in the chat for everybody, for anybody that doesn't have it. So right there, just post in the chat here on this Zoom room. In the chat box there is the link to this document. And what I talked about with updates is, you guys likely know, anybody that's been on this, repetitively and seen me go over this multiple times. Number three, as I always point out, is me trying to share some of the creative that Audience Lab puts out into the marketplace day in and day out to land new clients. What I found it helps some of our resellers and private clients with is just really, helping you brainstorm and see what type of creative is working, what type of trends are going, how creative has evolved over the years is also important. That's something I can't say I work on as firsthand because we have a creative department. Yes, they come to me for feedback, for optimization, for data, for what I'm seeing in terms of trends, for maybe best angles and hooks to use in the marketplace. Sure, that stuff's always evolving and changing subtly. But the whole creative trend and how much more you have to just be on the top of your game with that, right? I think creative 5 years ago, per se, was not near as highly emphasized as it is today, just because of more competitors, more saturation in the market, more advertisers on Facebook, more competition for your ad spend. I mean, I could go on and on with all the little reasons why creative is being highlighted with much more of a premium. And what I wanted to show you is in that number 3 doc, when you click on it and open it, I made some additions just today, actually. And I know not all of you guys are running ads, and I don't expect you all to be, but for those who are, or those that just see really good ad campaigns for any industry, I don't care if it's a DaaS agency, which we're going to gear this more toward, but whether you're a Facebook ad agency, whether you're an email agency, a copywriting agency, a content creating agency, I could go on and on. Understanding some of the best effective creative and most effective, I should say, best creative and most effective ads from your competitors really can give you some great ideas to use in your own creative, even if it's not in ads. When you see ads that are being run in your industry to your ideal audience that are getting a lot of clicks, that are getting a lot of engagement, that you can see as a company that their ads are filling up their sales team's calendar, there's something we can always learn from that. So again, whether you're running ads or not, I still think you can go through best ads, best practices, campaigns that are currently converting and profitable, and take something away from that and embed it into my marketing, whether I'm doing social media content marketing, whether I'm doing LinkedIn DM outreach, whether I'm doing cold email, all that stuff. And I still get great ideas from my creative department, one, but don't think that we don't research and look into our competitor ads and what they're doing quite often to get ideas, both ideas from what to talk about and what's working. And as I always say, most of our competitors are out there saying some kind of cringeworthy stuff, some over promising and under delivering stuff. And I like to stay away from that. And I also like to highlight it in my marketing. I might send out an email campaign that says, hey, Bob, you're probably seeing ads all the time for, how to get your time back and how to have a more profitable business. But you see that and all you hear about is the over promising and under delivering. Let me tell you about a an approach that always delivers on its promise and is only geared on data and metrics. And then boom, go right into your spiel. So again, by seeing what somebody's doing in their funnel that's kind of cringeworthy, or that I wouldn't do, or that I know is over promising and under delivering, I'm going to kind of piggyback off that, mention that, because they're going to relate to it. Anytime with our initial messaging, whether it's ad, email, doesn't matter. The first thing I always like to ask, and you guys have probably seen me talk about this on workshops, is what does the client or the marketplace or the prospect already know? And I like to start with that, because when you can start and your lead in is something they relate to, oh yeah, I've heard that, I've seen that, I've experienced that, they're more likely to continue on with your message and read more of your email, watch more of your video ad, read through more of your post, whatever that is, right? So and what I just updated this week is on our ad examples, that I gave you guys here. After number 7, you'll see number 8 through 11, those 4. I just literally added those today. So we might have dropped some of these campaigns a month or 2 ago. Literally 2 of those we just dropped. One yesterday, like it just hit the day it went live, and then I was scrolling Facebook and the new ad hit my feed within 10 minutes. But that's how new that one is. One was from only 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the other 2 were from late summer as we were going into fall here to close out September and into October. So I just kind of want to share with you what's evolving internally, what we're doing, where we're putting our money behind. I always like to share with you guys what we actually do, not just what we say. Like, hey, we could say, go create this angle or this hook, but if we're not actually doing it and drinking our own Kool-Aid and putting our own money behind it, I'm not as apt to come and share that with you guys. I just don't see it being quite as relevant as stuff that we, number one, put our money behind. But when we put our money behind it, and I always will show you guys the metrics and the results we're seeing from this stuff, it's working and it's profitable. So again, 4 of our newest creatives and ad campaigns that we've launched here, some this week, some is, going back a month or 2, but all pretty recent. And again, within this document, if you guys have never seen this, again, number 3, on the seller document here that I give you guys, and I dropped in the chat here already today, but we also show you guys some of the email campaigns we had success with, some ideas for short form, cold outreach, whether that might be email, LinkedIn, social media, whatever type of cold outreach we're doing, and just things to get your creative juices flowing. So I just wanted to show you a couple of those updates that are on this document. I think, and let me just check the waiting room here one more time real quick. I think 1 or 2 of you I may have admitted you after I dropped the link to this doc. So just to be sure that everybody can see it, Let me get this again. And I admitted I think one or two people while I was already talking and going. But let me just drop that link in here again. So again, if you guys go look in the Zoom chat right now, you should see the link to a Google Doc. If you jumped in late or you've never had it, that's this one. So number 3 on this is where I was just kind of highlighting where we give you some of our creative and messaging ideas and campaigns that are working for us. And I just wanted to share some of those updates with you. So going back to the seller doc again, really quickly, we give you guys ideas and the exact, I can't say ideas, the exact implementation and build out that I recommend you do to build out your sales process. Some of the creative, here's the scripts for your calls. Call number 1, your triage call. There's your script or your framework. Call number 2, your actual sales or your demo call. There's your script or your framework already built out for you. The pitch deck that we provide to you, 20 or so of my sales call recordings. So you guys can maybe listen to a couple, pick up some helpful verbiage, terminology, word tracks. Look at my style and what can you kind of adapt to your style to make yourself more successful. So really anything I can give you guys to build out your sales process, how to track metrics, how to close deals, scripts, frameworks, pitch decks, call recordings, pretty much anything you need is within this document. And I try to keep it short. And just to, again, what's required. Could I provide a whole bunch more sales resources and assets? Sure, but I think the more we have sometimes is overwhelm. Once I go beyond these 6 or 7 or 8 things that I just went over, it goes into more things that can be selectively useful, but I wouldn't say they're non-negotiables and everybody needs them. So I try to just provide kind of the meat and potatoes here of what's needed. What I would love for you guys to do really quick as I go into my next thing, but could each of you guys follow my next statement by putting a 1, 2, or 3 in the chat? If any of these apply to you, at least one should apply to you, but which one applies most to you? Number 1, within your DaaS agency, again, I don't care if you're a full stack marketing agency and just bolted on DaaS. I'm just saying DaaS agency here. But within your business and your agency, number 1, are you currently booking and taking sales calls? If so, please dump a 1 in the chat. Number 2, I am not yet booking or taking sales calls, or maybe I get a one-off every once in a while, but it's not consistent. And number 3, I would say, are there people on here that are not currently running any consistent marketing? And I don't mean ad spend, that can be part of it, right? But I'm talking even consistent email outreach, consistent DM outreach, friend requests, post on social media, whatever kind of your primary channel or avenue is. Are we consistently putting out content, marketing, resources, etc.? So I would love you guys to put a 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. I'm just going to go take a look if we have anybody participating. So Brandon, you fall under the 2, not yet booking calls, but it sounds like you didn't put a 3, so you are creating and putting out some consistent marketing. Brandon, would you mind unmuting for 1 second so I could just ask you a question or two?
Great.
Cool. So you are currently putting out marketing efforts. What's your primary avenue? Are you doing email, ads, a combination of stuff?
So, I mean, I am marketing, but I own a few different businesses, and my marketing business itself, I haven't marketed on like a traditional level. So my marketing business has just been
Okay.
word of mouth, people that I know in the home service industries that I've been
So
a
you're
part of.
saying, correct me if I'm wrong, more warm network and or referral basis?
That's exactly right. So like I own a construction business, and in that construction business, I have a lot of friends that own other construction businesses. So I'm by word of mouth helping them with their marketing and their business, while also marketing my own, you know.
Gotcha, gotcha. And just refresh my memory, who's your ideal client or what niche or industry do you serve predominantly?
Home services like windows, roofing, things like that.
That's what I thought, but I can't remember everybody I've had a conversation with. So thank you for refreshing my memory there. Cool. So number 1, what you had talked about, Brandon, and hopefully everybody should be doing this. I love that you said you are hitting your warm market using, word of mouth and referral type of business. I think that's great. And I think that's the low hanging fruit and the quick wins and the easiest way to get your first couple of clients in addition to whatever you have, right? Whether you're starting from scratch or whether you have 10 clients or 100 right now, I think you could easily go land a couple more deals. Almost anybody I'm talking about, again, no matter which echelon you're in that I just named, I think it's pretty simple to go get a deal or 2 from your warm network. Now, does that mean it's like super easy and somebody's going to deposit $5,000 into my bank today? No, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think it's easiest to dive into conversations, solve problems, and have people open to hearing you, right? But in addition to that, I always love to and be entertaining my warm market, growing more of a warm market, growing my network, giving referral based business or getting referral based business. But what I mean by that is more giving people in my network a reason to refer me business. Okay. That also is important. There's a lot of us that talk about or get referral business, but we don't necessarily put an emphasis on how that comes about. And we just kind of wait for it to fall in our lap. And if it does, great. There's actually ways to do referral based business consistently and predictably where you're always getting some coming in. Might just be a couple of months, but you can do it consistently. And once you can get a couple of months consistently, that's great. In addition to that, Brandon, I always recommend using some type of cold marketing to be what I just said. Number one, feeding more people into your warm network, right? So just by doing cold messaging, people that either relate to you, that raise their hand depending on your message or your call to action, that really relate to the problem you're solving, the solution you're offering, maybe the results and the outcomes you're discussing. Those people that then raise their hand and say, yeah, I'd like some more information, Brandon, they now start to come more into our warm network. They're open to conversations. They might be booking sales calls. And what that does by doing cold outreach, again, I have a video on this, and I recommend what I've seen our DaaS clients and what we have had the most success with in cold outreach personally is via email and LinkedIn. I think those are the two best channels for any DaaS agency selling to other businesses, which almost all of you guys are. Very few of you are going direct to consumer with the data. And it makes much more sense to sell to businesses because those people are spending money on ads and marketing campaigns. Most consumers are not doing that. So again, I would, if I were you, Brandon, one of my main focuses right now would be let me dial in some really juicy cold messaging and start putting together some email or LinkedIn outreach campaigns in addition to what I'm doing for warm network and referral based business. That would probably be my main focus if I were you right now. Any questions on that or any more thoughts or anything you'd like to add into that, Brandon?
No, I think that's good.
Cool. If you haven't seen the tutorial that I have on that and some frameworks and templates and best practices, I'll go over that and I'll bring it up and share it in the chat before the end of this call here. I'll get it pretty shortly. I just don't have it right in front of me and going to go over some other things first, but I'll make sure you have that video or anyone else listening that's like, oh, that would be helpful, Ray, and I haven't seen that yet. Guys, I will have that drop for you in the chat here shortly. Brandon was the only one that replied to my initial comment in there. And I know I added one or two more people in. Let me just bring up my participants. But anyone else here listening, Greg, Georgetta, Rodney, Kelly might have bounced off. I know I saw him on here earlier. But any of you guys, Greg, Georgetta, Rodney specifically, guys, if you could, and again, not everybody has to participate, but I'd love you to drop a 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. Yeah, I'm going to repeat it right now, Georgetta. And I know, Greg, you weren't even on when I asked this, but number one, in my business, am I currently booking and taking calls? If so, drop a 1 in the chat. Number two, if for whatever reason, am I not yet booking and taking calls, but I am running some type of marketing efforts? Or number three, am I not running any consistent marketing efforts whatsoever right now? I'd love to hear from the other couple people on this call. Georgetta not running any marketing efforts. Greg not running any marketing efforts. Okay, so now, obviously, guys, the main problem with that, and the first thing I'm going to say back to you is I believe everybody on the call wants to be booking and taking calls, but how do we expect to do that if we're not running any marketing? Let's like all sit there and just ask ourselves that individual. So, okay, great. And if you don't feel like you, perfect example there, Georgetta. I'm putting my ducks in a row, which means, I mean, another way of saying this, and feel free to correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like I have all my foundations in place, and maybe I'm not in a stable or a great position to start taking calls. If you don't feel like you have confidence or that built up, you're probably right. I don't want people to rush into a part of their business that they're not set up to succeed. I also don't want people to have a fear of conversations or taking sales calls just because you don't feel like you have everything in foundations set up. Sometimes you have to jump outside of your comfort zone a little and start doing things that you might not be prepared for. And then when you start to get that market feedback, it's really going to tell you how to go build those foundations that you didn't think you were prepared for. So again, but I totally get where you're coming from. I don't want people to start getting into a component or aspect of their business that they themselves don't feel confident they can succeed in. I totally understand that logic, and it makes sense, right? I'm not going to tell people to run before they walk and walk before they crawl, etc. But there are also times where we have to hop out of our comfort zone and kind of be willing to do that. So again, I think what I'm seeing as a common trend, and I know there's only 4 or 5 of you on here, but Brandon is doing some calls, but they're more from referral. He also said he's not doing consistent outreach. Georgetta's not, Greg's not, Rodney, you didn't chime in, and that's fine. Nobody's required to, no problem whatsoever. But what I'm seeing here is what I would be thinking if I'm in all of your shoes in that situation is I want to be going through, and again, what I led this call with, Greg, you might be the only one that didn't see, and maybe Brandon, you hopped in a minute or two late, but I think you saw me go over this. But I dropped some of the creative and some of the document with some creative. I would be going through that and at least just start to get ideas and the creative juices flowing in your head. That's number one. Then when ideas or things really resonate with you, you're like, oh, I would love to use that stat or that data or that word track or that problem or that solution or that outcome and that result. As I like to say, guys, and I repeat this, I feel like on every workshop, almost, I mean, there's slight outliers, but it's very, very little. 95% of the messaging I ever put out into the marketplace is revolving around one of those 4 components: problems, solutions, results, outcomes. And results and outcomes can kind of be tied with one another. Brandon, you had a question real quick before I dive into more. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had a loud noise in the back. Hey,
You're good.
so on the marketing efforts that you're doing, are you seeing success on like the social media marketing and like the email campaigns coming from a person or a business? Like Audience Lab can do ads, but then Raymond can do ads. Like, have you seen a difference in if it's me doing a campaign versus a business?
So you're talking specifically for ads here?
Yeah, like I want to do like an email campaign or like a meta ad campaign or something like that. Is it
And
better
that's
to
what I'm trying to
do?
get clarity, Brandon. So you're saying an ad campaign and an email campaign. So are you saying both? Could we, like, they're
Yeah,
separate. We obviously all understand that. So all right, let me try to answer your question and tell me if this helps, or maybe you have another question that piggybacks off this. For ads, don't really think it makes a difference whatsoever if you're doing it from an individual page or a business page. I really don't. You may know that to run ads, and again, I've been doing it so long on Facebook, I haven't had to do this. I believe you also need a Facebook page, even if you're an individual with 1,000 likes. I believe that's still the prerequisite. Again, I've had mine all set for so long that, so that's the only difference. Obviously, if you're an individual or a business that does not yet have a business page set up or 1,000 likes on it, I think that restricts you from running ads. But once you do, I don't care if that page is set up from an individual standpoint or a business standpoint. What it all comes down to is the creative that we're running. So for instance, to give you a great example of this, Brandon, we've run ads out of multiple accounts. One just tied back to Adam Lucerne or myself or Jesse or any of our co-owners individual. And then we run them out of the Total Audience Lab Hub. We don't see a difference in our cost, in our conversions, as long as the creative is consistent. So regardless of what background you're using, personal or business, it's all about the creative and the messaging that we put out there, and then how clear and how smooth the funnel moves from there. I've also seen a lot of people with great messaging and great creative, and then somebody clicks to go to the next page and they get confused for whatever reason. The landing page is confused, or page two it sends it to doesn't align with the ad they just saw, and they're like, well, this is saying this, but the ad I saw just, so now I'm confused. Once the brain gets confused, it's almost impossible to get them to click that next step, the call to action to book a call or buy the product or whatever it is on that page. So again, creative and messaging, and then a smooth, clear, aligned funnel that goes with that. That's easy to go to the next step, easy to book a call, easy to make a purchase. I think I gave an example a couple of weeks ago, and I was literally on a website trying to make a purchase, and for whatever reason, they wouldn't take my money initially, and they're trying to say, "Do you want this instead?" And I just backed out, and they lost the money. I never went back to that website. They made it confusing. I clicked to buy, and they said, "No, go do this first." I'm like, "You're going to tell me no? I'm going to go off your page and not get my money." Like, we can't tell the consumer what to do. And once we start thinking we can, you're going to ostracize a certain percentage of your market and buyers. I think some people get a little too cute with their funnel. And anytime you put being clever over clear, you're going to lose part of your market. Now, the best messaging is both clear and clever, but clarity trumps cleverness all the times in your marketing. And sometimes being too clever and too cute is actually going to negate the clear message that you had because you tried to get too clever and too cute. So it's a fine balance, and that's why I like to give you guys different examples of ads that we're spending on and we're hitting with. The campaigns that I share with you guys and I show you guys, these are not losing money. Okay, I'll just say that they're profitable and they're converting. I don't share with you guys the losers. There's no point in sharing losers. What we do as a company, I'm not going to say we never launch a campaign that isn't a loser. We sure have, and we still do, but we just have it so figured out with our data, our creative team. We've been in this game long enough, and we have some great minds working internally where probably 9 of our 10 campaigns hit profitable. We're really fortunate enough to be that good with our ad campaigns. I definitely couldn't say this 2 years ago. It was probably 6 out of 10. 2 years before that, it was probably like 4 out of 10. So obviously, as we evolve, so does our success, but we still have losing campaigns. And whenever we get one of those, we put it on the shelf and we go and diagnose it and rip it apart. Hey, we put this out in the market expecting it to work. Why didn't it? And then we kind of deconstruct it and we're like, oh, this one, if I probably switch the headline to this. And a lot of times, all I need to do is go switch a headline from a losing campaign, relaunch it, and it becomes a winning campaign. A lot of times, even our losing creative and messaging would work with a subtle tweak, but a lot of people are like, oh, this is costing me money, this is losing, this is a loser, and they just shelf it and they throw it away. No, shelve it, yeah, until you can diagnose and dive into why it's not converting and split test a couple of things. Sometimes it could just be a little different image or a little different headline. But yeah, so and again, what I want to go grab for you guys is what I just talked about. So I'm going to screen share and then I'm going to drop it in the chat. I think everybody on this call has access to or has already received this checklist here for the minimum requirements for success for a DaaS client. But within here, number 11 on this list, which is listed as kind of the bonus resources. Again, I've told this to everybody, and if you guys haven't seen this or hadn't had a one-on-one call with me where we went over this very, very quickly, I'm not going to spend much time on this, but very, very quickly, the top 7 things above line 8, I know, speaking with over 100 successful DaaS agencies earlier this year and 50 who didn't see an ROI or didn't see success within the first 2 months, that these 7 things are kind of non-negotiable for success on the top. Now, the stuff on the bottom below line 10, out of those 100 successful agencies I spoke with earlier this year, anywhere between 20 and 80% of them also told me that number 11 through 16 were also relevant in their success. So again, the top 7 things I consider non-negotiable, and I saw that 100% of the time across the board. 100 agencies that were successful all did these 7 things, okay? So the data, it doesn't matter what I think, the data is pretty glaring and tells me the answer. Now, anywhere between 20 and 80% found those, again, number 11 through 16, very relevant. So when I created this checklist, all I wanted to do is put everything in one location where everybody has access, and you can see, out of the bottom ones, which ones are relevant or effective or efficient for you. Now, number 11 specifically is the one I was talking about with Brandon earlier, and the one I think is most relevant to most of the people that have typed the 2 or 3 in the chat here today. And that says starting your DaaS agency from scratch. So I filmed less than a 20-minute module where I went through, hey, I want to put myself in your shoes. I just enrolled into DaaS yesterday. I want to land some new clients, but I don't yet have a budget or the acumen or the time to go run ads for myself. I also did this operating from the low fulfillment DaaS model agency of, hey, I just want to sell the data to clients and be hands off. I don't think it really varies much from a full stack agency. You guys just can serve more of the market and charge a little more than the low fulfillment agency. So that's a bonus. But what I did is show you what we did to land our first clients before we ran ads and how we still do it in addition to. It's not like Audience Lab, we just run paid marketing and we just solely rely on that. I've told you on multiple of these workshops, we run 4 avenues of client acquisition that directly correlate to revenue in our bank account and close deals every single month, Paid ads being 1, cold email being 2. I would say our mutually beneficial partnerships, affiliates, referrals. I'm just going to kind of loop that all into one under number 3. And number 4 would be our social media outreach and our content marketing. So that, again, is 3 ways of marketing. The content we put out onto YouTube, IG, Facebook, that gets people to raise their hand, that gets people interested. So those 4 avenues. Now, again, what I show you guys in this tutorial, in just 1 minute, I'm about to go drop the link to that in the chat here. But what I show you guys in this tutorial is the exact templates and frameworks and messaging and the psychology and the thought process that goes behind it that I create and craft to start my cold email and cold LinkedIn outreach. Personally, what I recommend, and you'll see me probably reiterate exactly this verbiage. I don't remember exactly how I said it when I filmed it, but I recommend all of our DaaS clients, again, outside of people that came in with the existing budget and wherewithal and resources or bandwidth to go run paid ads. If that's you, maybe what I'm saying doesn't fully apply to you. Even if it is you, personally, I would be doing what I'm saying here in addition to that method, but that's totally optional and up to you. You guys run your own businesses, you make your own decisions. But through running, I recommend each client go land your first 5 data deals through organic methods without spending money. Each deal you close, take 20% of the profits and go put that into an ad budget kitty. By the time you close 5 deals, you likely have enough to literally go run your first 30 days of ads, do a little bit of trial and start seeing some results without really, taking everything out of your bank account that's going to maybe sacrifice your mortgage or your car payment or whatever. I never want people to dive into personal funding resources. Take your closed deals. What's your profit margin? Let's say 60%. Out of that 60%, let's say it's a 3K deal. What's 20% of that? $600. All right, $600 goes into my ad kitty. $600 from the next deal. You close 5 deals like that, all of a sudden you got $3,000 in your little kitty to start running paid ads. Well, that's enough for $3,000 is about 30 days a month. There's $100 budget per day for a full month worth of Facebook or Google ads that you can now add into while you keep doing that organic, email and LinkedIn that landed you the first 5 clients. Then in the next month, you're liable to land another 3 to 5 clients through organic, and your ads start paying off, and that drives in 3 to 5 deals, right? And then you double down, and the cycle, starts to grow. So do the profit margins. So again, let me go drop that link to that tutorial what did I just do? I don't want to screen share. I want to stop screen share. Doesn't really matter whether I do that. I'm going to go in the chat right now and just drop the link to that tutorial for anybody that hasn't already seen that or didn't have access to it. Whoops. I don't know what just happened. Let me just go recopy the link for some reason. You would think a digital business owner of a tech company can learn how to copy and paste. No, I'm just kidding. There you go, guys. That tutorial is now right there in the chat for anybody that hasn't seen that yet. Either open it up on your browser, copy and paste it, save it, watch it later, whatever. I know I made it less than 20 minutes. And just keep in mind, anything I shared in that tutorial, whether it's a script or a template or a framework, all of those assets are linked down in the description of that video. So not only can you guys watch what I did, but you can take the frameworks and go kind of deconstruct them and remake them in your messaging, your business model, your market, your pricing, whatever, right? All of us are probably doing something a little different than one another. I mean, Audience Lab, as opposed to you guys, we sell more to agencies who resell, where you guys sell more to brands directly. Most of you guys on this call are selling to different niches and industries, different prices, some full stack, some low fulfillment. So there's all kinds of little subtle differences and nuances. But yeah. So you typed in, I'm literally on day 4 with Audience Lab. So this is amazing. Great. I think you're on my calendar later this week, if I'm not mistaken, to have a one-on-one call, right? I'm pretty sure I saw your name. Great. So we'll dive through some more stuff. Some of the stuff I went on this call, you probably haven't seen yet because I give it out on that one-on-one call. And there's a reason I like to just go over and describe everything thoroughly. So you're not guessing and clicking on stuff, right? So you'll get some more direction and some more one-on-one resources on that call, Brandon, when we meet later this week. But yeah, I'm glad you found this helpful. So another thing I would like to share, and what I've come to find, and that's why I wanted to ask you guys, and I know there's only a few guys on today's call, which is great. I'm going to make sure I leave time for a Q&A if anybody came for a specific question or wants to pick my brain about packaging or position or pricing the offer or the services, all that stuff. But I can see from the 2s and 3s that I received that it sounds like we want to know and want some more help with a little of the back to basics on what to, that, as Georgetta kind of mentioned, as how to kind of set your foundations so you are ready to succeed when you're ready to move on to the next step and consistently put out marketing. And so once you do that and people bite, you actually feel confident when you're ready to hop on and start booking and taking sales calls. So what I'm going to screen share is 2 things that I think are going to be relevant. And again, guys, everything I share, I'm going to give you a copy of and go drop in the chat. What do I want to start with? I'm going to start with the kickoff thing. And first off, a little template. So I work with private clients in one of my other brands called PDocs, which is our foundational company that led into Audience Lab. Me, Jesse, and Adam all launched and ran that company as well. I still run and manage it. And this is just a blank template, but this shows you the 6 or 7 areas I go over with every client, really the 6. Name isn't an area. I just put the client's name in there. And then I'm going to show you what a completed version of this looks like and kind of what I'm talking about and where and why I think this is helpful. But I think it's really important to really understand and type this out to yourself, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you have a VA, whether you're bringing on a team member, whether you have a business partner, whether you plan to grow and have, support or SDR or sales reps come into your ecosystem. When you have this mapped out, it really helps onboarding and building a team and being cohesive and in alignment with them, much, much easier. So just ask yourself and make sure you can define this really quickly. Hey, what's the niche of the industry I'm serving? If you ask yourself that question, you don't have an answer, let's really sit down and think about it. And why don't I have an answer? I'm happy to share what my thoughts are when I go pick a new niche and industry for anybody that's stuck with that. What's my offer? And can I say that in a quick sentence or two? People have a big problem with that when I ask them what their offer is. Almost everybody I speak to when I get on my first one-on-one call and build out one of these sheets, I'll go, "Hey Bob, what's your offer?" And he'll talk for 6, 8, 10 paragraphs, maybe even longer. And I'll be like, "Oh, so you're a Facebook ad agency that also does AI automation?" Well, yeah, that's what I do. Okay, so that's your offer. I don't need 18 paragraphs, right? So the more clear and concise you can be as a business owner about what you do, the easier and clearer you're going to be when you try to message that out to the marketplace. If you're confused about your own offer when someone asks you and it takes you 6 or 8 paragraphs to explain it, how are you supposed to portray a clear message to your prospects when you begin marketing? It's not very easy. Understanding my ideal client, and I always say there's 3 main components to this. Now, all of us have probably been through some type of program or workshop or coaching, or we watch Russell Brunson or Hormozy or whatever, right? We all have different ideas of what my ideal client is, what my avatar is. I still remember the first high ticket coaching program that Jesse and I paid $15,000 for. I still remember the avatar worksheet that my coach had me fill out with either 9 or 12 components. I forget. I remember it was 3 or 4 rows of 3. So either 9 or 12 components, which was way too, it was asking me stuff like, what's my ideal client's favorite food? What is he watching at night? Like all this stuff that I found when I got into business for real, like this stuff isn't relevant. This stuff doesn't really matter. I consider there being 3 components to dialing in your ideal client. Number 1 is the who, very direct. I work with small to mid-sized businesses. I work with tech startups. I work with the who, right? Just very direct. Number 2, some prerequisites for my ideal client, which a lot of you guys either don't identify. If you do identify them, you don't stay with it, and you kind of deviate the first time. I mean, the first time you speak with a lower tier client. So what I mean by prerequisites is just tell data specifically, I want to work with clients that probably have a 10-person team or more. I want to work with clients that have been in business 5+ years, that are doing over $1 million in revenue, that have a marketing and advertising department, right? That might be some prerequisites for good data sales, right? If I'm going to try to go sell data to Joe Smith with 1 man on his crew and never run marketing, he's not going to know what the hell to do with that data. He's not going to make money with that data. He's not going to come back and buy more. So again, number 1, the who. Number 2, some solid prerequisites for my ideal client. And number 3, the thing I always think about, what have they already tried or what might they try instead of using my agency, my services, my product, my solution, right? So, and again, I'm going to show you some examples. PDOC's research, I usually, when I get in a conversation with an individual, this is the last one I go back and fill out after I've kind of gone around the other 5 categories. I kind of go back and say, hey man, based on where you're at, I think you need to go research this and this a little more. Or there's certain business owners, I think the example I'm about to show you, where that guy was really dialed in, his market research was phenomenal, and I didn't think he needed to do anymore, right? But I set that up. Then I say to everybody, what's your immediate objective, right? And you guys should all be thinking about this in 30-day increments. In the next 30 days, what would be some of your immediate objectives? And I don't know if you guys want to, indulge me and type some in the chat, even if they're made up some, but I'll tell you what happens for the most common person I speak to, Ray. Within the next 30 days, especially when I do this session, within the next 30 days, I want my offer solidified. I want to take it to market, and I want to be in conversations and getting positive feedback so I can optimize it. That could be it. Hey, Ray, I've already dialed in my offer. Ideally, I want to get marketing messaging out in the market, and I want to book 10 calls within the next 30 days. Great. Hey, Ray, I'm already booking some calls. I want to increase the amount of bookings, and I want to have 5 closed deals within the next 30 days. Great. So whatever that objective is leads me to recommending and suggesting the strategy and approach I would implement through my expertise and experience and what I've done in my businesses on the low-hanging fruit, shortest and quickest way to go accomplish that approach. So again, this document is a really good template. Everybody should be able to fill this out quickly and easily. And if I was going over any of these things and you don't know these or can't define these, that would be job number 1 if I'm you. So if anybody wants this template and would benefit them, I'm going to go drop this in the chat. Then I'm going to go over a filled out example of what it looks like after I work with a client and what that looks like. And then I'm going to go through some more resources. So I'm going to scroll right by his name. It doesn't matter. He doesn't mind if I share his name. I've worked with him and many, many times over the years. And Scott's a very bright dude. But the name of this client I was working with, you can see his name and the name of his company right there. Then I was like, Scott, what niche and industries are you serving with your offer and your solution? Right, primarily call centers, home services, and e-com and SaaS companies. Great, really quick, really simple, and he had it defined. Hey, what's your offer? I love how he did this in freaking three, 4 words, right? AI hyper automation systems. Now, is there a lot more to that? And can he explain for 6 or 8 paragraphs? Very easily he could, but it's much better to say it in 4 or 5 words that people are going to read and say, Scott, what does an AI hyper automation system actually do? So even just telling people this is your offer creates more intrigue where they're asking buying questions. Now, does that mean they're ready to buy right away? No, but anytime people are asking more about what it does, who's it for, what's the benefit, those are buying questions. Doesn't mean somebody's going to buy immediately when you answer that question, but yes, it is considered a buying question. And then I was like, Scott, let's talk about your ideal client. We already know the niche in the industry he's serving, so we didn't really need to repeat that down below, but that might be right in the beginning. But he's talking about call centers, home services, e-com and SaaS companies that are doing more than 2.5 million in annual revenue, that are already using or looking into AI, which is probably most business owners in the marketplace in 2025. I want them to have a team members somewhere between about 10 to 50 team members and even higher, and have been in business at least 2 years. So what is he saying there? I'm discluding, and I don't work with startups. I don't work with companies with under a 10-man team. I don't work with companies that haven't already used or aren't looking into using AI. Why am I going to provide or present an AI solution to somebody that's not looking for it, right? Makes no sense. So he's setting pre-qualifiers and he's automatically disqualifying his not ideal client, which is great. I've always said the number one message of anybody's marketing and messaging, the number one objective should be to appeal to and rein in your ideal audience while also pushing away your non-ideal audience. That's what our best marketing does. When somebody reads it, they're like, oh, you only work with agencies doing over 10K in ad spend? That's not me. Cool. Don't book a call with us. I'm fine with that. I would rather disqualify them from the first line of my ad copy than go all the way to a sales call and have them go through more assets, more time, more bandwidth from my team just to find out that they're not a buyer or an ideal client on the sales call. So the sooner we can find that out in our funnel, the better. Now, sometimes we don't find out somebody's disqualified. And in my mind, it should never be all the way to the sales call. We should be doing a triage call first where we can always disqualify. Triage call is only 15 or 20 minutes of our time. If we find out somebody's not a good fit, okay, that's not such a big loss. Whereas 45 to 60 minutes of my time to find that out, not worth it. Not worth it in your business, not worth it in anybody's business, really. Trust me, it's not. But those first handful of calls, if we're just going to start remarketing, if it's a new offer, if I haven't really solidified it outside of my warm network, those first handful of calls give us the best feedback to go back and optimize, right? We can find out why people were hesitant to buy. Why were they apprehensive? What didn't make sense? Was the offer price too high? What was the problem? We can't find that out unless we get on sales calls and get into discussions with prospects. And that, for me, is the most valuable feedback to give back to my marketing department and say, hey guys, this is the feedback I'm getting on our sales calls. We need to tweak our message, our targeting, our whatever it is, right? Our creative, all those things. So in this case, when I asked Scott, hey Scott, now what's your immediate objective? Well, Ray, with all the foundations I have, all the time I put into fulfillment and building out my product, my goal is to get consistent bookings, to flesh out the pre-call process, and to get 5 to 10 deals closed in the next 60 days. And I said, all right, Scott, what are you open to doing for outreach? And what have you currently been doing to acquire clients or get calls booked? And he walked me through that. And then I gave him this approach. Hey, Scott, if I were you, based on your skill set, bandwidth, and past expertise and foundations or infrastructure, I would be doing outreach and I would be using a 2 to 3 prong approach. And if I were you, Scott, right now, I would start with free methods. I don't think you're at a position to go into paid ads. So I would be using cold email. I would be using social media, either LinkedIn and or Facebook or some combination. You probably know where your audience and your platform will perform better. I always tell people if you're trying organic outreach on social media, usually the best start is whatever platform that you are on the most. You probably are posting the most content. You're probably on there the most. You probably have the most followers, friends, or connections. So that's usually the best place to start. Is that always the case? No. I think there's certain platforms that are ripe for certain offers too, where it makes more sense to be on that platform. For instance, I think, you know, let's go Instagram. I think that's more e-commerce, more lower ticket and more instant gratification and quick purchases. And it's more of a photo platform than long form, whereas Facebook and LinkedIn can go me more long form. We all know LinkedIn is much higher ratio of B2B contacts than any other platform. So again, you need to think, am I low ticket physical products? If so, I would probably be on like IG and TikTok, honestly. If I'm more high ticket products, and I'm trying to get in conversations and add to my network, I would probably be using LinkedIn and Facebook more. If I'm more video content and trying to grow more content marketing and educate people throughout my funnel, I might be utilizing YouTube. But again, a 2 to 3 prong outreach approach is usually what I recommend. And in most cases, in that video I dropped in here, guys, LinkedIn and cold email are usually the two that are going to hit best, again, generally speaking. Now, again, use what I just said as kind of prerequisites or outliers there. If you have other platforms where you have big followings and you're constantly active, I would probably start there, maybe before going to LinkedIn. But again, so consistent daily requirements and metrics to convert conversations into qualified appointments. That's all Scott needed to focus on right now, to start moving forward. And what I mean by that is, let me go into also some of the metrics. Oh, what else? Let me just go back to that one and just round it out. So then I also give people after this call next action steps. So we've built out, we understand the niche and industry, your offer, your ideal client, your immediate objective, the strategy and approach I'm recommending to do that. What do you need to go implement and execute? So I gave him 2 or 3 of my next level best resources for organic marketing, organic outreach, how to do some sales presentations and sell, making money through presentations, because Scott was entertaining going that route. Next level Facebook organic outreach strategies, everything you need to know about appointment setting and solidifying his process, which he mentioned in there. He really wanted to flesh out the pre-call process. So then I went and gave him the best resources to go implement and execute on that I have in my little toolkit, for lack of a better phrase. But the last thing we kind of touched on here, right, was consistent daily requirement metrics. And what does that mean? And I have a very, very simple approach to this, guys, that I'm happy to share and drop this document. I think this, no matter where you are, if you typed a 3 specifically, maybe even if you typed a 2, but specifically if you typed a 3 in today's chat, I would probably be starting in some semblance of this. Now, keep in mind, and I'm going to go over this and make sure it makes sense. It's very cut and dry, but I'm going to just make sure it's clear. This is more for social media outreach. If I was building out a tracking sheet and metrics for my email campaigns, there would be a lot higher prerequisites. I wouldn't stop at just 10 emails sent per day, or 20 DMs, or 15 friend requests. With the emails, those numbers would be higher. Normally for me, starting out, let's say starting out from scratch, I'd be 50 to 100 emails consistently per day until I start to see results and optimize and get feedback, go back and tweak my messaging a little and make sure it's converting better. And then I might start to up it from 50 to 100 to 100 and 125 a day. The next month, it might go up to 125 to 150 per day, so on and so forth. So again, email, I would look at a little separate. This particular metrics was more from a social media outreach, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, doesn't really matter. This particular one was from one of the programs many of you guys have probably heard me talk about and that I've run in the past, is called DM Setter Academy. So I made my first million plus online, literally just Facebook group posts and DMs. That's all I did to make my first million plus in overall sales online. So obviously, once I got pretty good at it, I started to teach others how to do it. I didn't necessarily have the time to put into my organic outreach that I did when I first got started. So I would train other people to do it using my strategy, my metrics, and with very simple prerequisites. You can see the big difference between probably other people that have either taught this or recommended. They've probably said, hey, guys, to get results with this, it's a numbers game. You need to be sending 50 to 100 DMs per day and 50 to 100 friend requests per day. Now, also, Facebook has got a little more strict on the amount of messages and outreach they allow. So number one, by doing that, if you don't have a vetted account and you didn't build up to that, you can very quickly get your account restricted. I never want to see that for anybody. That's one reason I teach it this way. Number two, my approach is a much more streamlined, what I would call sniper approach, as opposed to the shotgun approach, where I shoot some buckshot, I shoot a wide, a whole bunch of projectiles fall out of the shotgun, you know, I'm flying out of the shotgun barrel, and I'm hoping to hit a whole bunch of things with this one thing. So it's kind of like closing your eyes and taking a shot and hoping you're hitting something. Whereas the sniper approach is, I'm targeted on this person, I pull the trigger and I know I'm going to hit them, right? I don't mean to shoot people, guys. Let's you do it more from a hunting standpoint. But regardless, what I mean by that is each friend request I send, I know before I ever send it that this person in high likelihood is my ideal audience. Whereas with a lot of outreach, people are just anybody that clicks like on your post that you dropped in a group, you add as a lead. Like, just because somebody liked your post in a group doesn't mean they're a lead or your ideal audience. And that's what some people teach. I disagree with a lot of that teaching. I disagree with the quality over quantity approach. I am not going to discount that it is always a numbers game. Correct. But I can do 10 DMs per day, 10 new DMs, 20 total. And the big difference there, guys, 10 new DMs means somebody I've never sent a DM to before. 20 DMs per day means I'm sending 10 new ones, and I'm also following up with 10 people that I've already spoken with, that I already know, that I've had past conversations. And as you do this consistently, your pipeline grows and grows, and you have more of those past ones. But anyway, 10 new DMs, 20 total DMs, 15 friend requests, and about 3 posted posts published, whether it's in Facebook groups, on your personal page. When I was doing this consistently, my approach was 2 posts in other people's groups where there is my ideal audience, and 1 post where there's traffic that I control, meaning a group that I run, or my own timeline, or my own Facebook page. And that was kind of my approach pretty consistently. 2 posts in alternate cold type of traffic groups, but I know my ideal audience was in there, and 1 in an area where I like to say the traffic I control, people I've added into a group, people I've accepted into my network, my pipeline, my timeline, all that stuff. So by very simply doing these metrics, as opposed to I would say number C and number D, I'm saying letter C and letter D here, in most people's training of DM outreach would be somewhere between 50 and 100 as the prerequisites. I can guarantee you throughout my strategy, I can do 20 and 15 here as opposed to 50 and 100 in each, and get the same or better results in columns G and H, which are the ones that matter. How many calls did I book from this outreach and how many deals closed, right? So really quickly, if we can consistently, and again, to do this, we need some ideas of creative, and we need to dial in our initial message and what we're going to be sending people. Once we feel pretty good about that, we start testing it in the marketplace with, some new friend requests, some new DMs. And as I tell people, let's say even whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm adding more connections and putting out more requests. Let's say I send out 15 today. What normally happens, at least in my world, and again, everybody's different, but I normally get about 8 of those 15, just over 50% to accept. And then what I find is the next day I send out 15, 8 accept again, but then 1 accepts from the day before that didn't see it or didn't get it, or it just trickles through. So now I got 9 connections that day. And then the next day I send out 15, I get 8, 1 from the day before, and sometimes 1 from 2 days before. And it starts to snowball to more and more connections, right? You're getting, let's just say approximately 50% accepting that day, and 1 or 2 always trickling in from the day or 2's prior's messaging. And again, the more we do this, you guys can all see how the math snowballs and it gets to more and more accepted requests. Then my personal strategy, and again, I have videos, I'm not going to go into it all here in the next 8 minutes. Once somebody accepts my request, today is Tuesday, right, guys? Let's say I sent out 15 requests, 8 people accept. For my strategy, that means Thursday morning, I usually wait 24 to 48 hours after somebody accepts, and then I hit them with my initial outreach message. Why do I do that? 2 reasons that I found. And what I do is what relates to me is what I try to exemplify. So one thing that always kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I always know what's going to happen, I accept somebody's request, and within 5 minutes, they're in my DMs. What do we think is going to happen there, guys? I think all of us think we're getting pitched and this guy's just marketing. If that rubs me the wrong way, and that's what I think, well, if I do that, isn't that what most of the prospects I'm messaging are going to think? So why would I do something that I'm already skeptical or hesitant about? I wouldn't. But so many of us just don't even think that simple thing through. Like, hey, do I like this style or relate with it? No, I don't, but I'm just going to copy it because my coach said so. Like, no, like, think about it. It's still your own business. Coaches are great. They give us all kinds of blueprints, strategies, tactics, approaches. But if it doesn't relate to you, doesn't resonate, or it doesn't jive, why would you copy and implement that? That's the biggest question I have for people that just copy and paste other people's systems. Like, hey, do you agree with it and believe in it? No, but I just do it because my coach said. Well, good luck with that. I mean, why would I build a business of something I don't believe in or agree with, right? It just makes no sense to me. So all the advice you get, and take it from me. Whatever I say to you, vet, run it through your own head. Maybe what I say doesn't make sense to you. If so, I wouldn't recommend you go implement it just because I said it, right? I'm going to be very consistent with this. It doesn't matter if it's coming out of my mouth, Guru A or Guru B, doesn't matter. So you always have to take that stuff into consideration. But again, number 1 is because I feel like when I DM somebody and I'm right in their inbox, it's already creating hesitation, resistance, and they feel like they're going to get pitched. Number 2, by waiting a day or 2, if you are consistently dropping a few posts per day, it's likely they're going to see a story or a post or something about you. And then when you reach out, it's likely going to connect and hit better, if that makes sense. So if I send you a friend request today, Greg, I'm just saying your name because you're the first one I see on the screen, and then I send you a DM on Thursday, and personally, you guys might have seen my approach. I always use the voice note approach. My first DM to everybody would be something like this. This is kind of my framework. Hey, Greg, I saw you and I just connected here on Facebook in the last couple of days or so. And rather than remain strangers on this platform like so many people like to do, I actually like to reach out and connect with everybody that accepts my request. Hey, man, looking over your profile, it looks like you are into muscle cars, and it also looks like your background has a little to do with marketing and advertising. Well, hey, man, it's great to be acquainted here. I'd love to hear some more about who you are and what you do. Look forward to seeing your content in the future. Click. So, why did I use that strategy and why does that work? Number one, it stands out and it's very personable. Number two, voice notes, people can actually hear the authenticity, the joy, the voice inflections, the enunciation, all the things that can be misconstrued in a text, right? You could say, oh, this guy was yelling at me, or this guy, we don't know what people are really saying in text in terms of how it's coming out of their mouth. We read it in our own tone and how we interpret it, right? So sometimes texts get misinterpreted or misconstrued. It stands out. It makes everything very clear. It allows people to really get a better feel for you. And guys, I got to tell you, and I'm happy to share examples. I have some. When I send that to people, you should hear the replies I get back. Oh my God, Ray. I have one guy, I remember one of the recent ones. Dude, this is so smart. I love this method. I'm going to steal this from you and implement this. I've never been doing this, but this really fired me up. And I replied to him, dude, steal it. Let me know how it works. Like, totally. Right. So, another one I remember getting, hey, Ray, normally when people send me a friend request and then a DM, whether it's immediate or a day or two later, I feel like I'm going to get pitched. But you actually reached out to want to have an actual connection and know about me. I love that. And then they went into their story and telling me about them. Another one I remember getting about a 3-minute voice note back where the guy gave me almost his whole life story and all the experience and everything I need to know about this person to then carry on and further the conversation. And the number one question I get about that method is, hey, Ray, as you guys can tell, my whole theory behind that is keep the first message all about them. If I message me, it's just to say why I reached out and why I thought I would be a good fit. And I usually mix in something like, hey, Greg, I usually look to connect with other like-minded individuals, high achievers, people that like to hold themselves accountable and better their lives. It seems like you tick some of those boxes. So boom. And then I kind of also build them up a little, but I'm kind of just saying, hey, this is why I reached out and it looks like you tick some of those boxes. I would love to hear back to see if I'm right and hear some more about you. And then again, the number one question I usually get asked is, well, Ray, when you do that, isn't it kind of grimy or how do you transition into your pitch and into about business? Well, you know what human nature does? With that first message, keeping it all about them and asking what they do, almost every message that comes back, and I'm happy to share and show you guys those voice notes, almost every time they're like, well, Ray, now that I've explained about me, can you tell me more about what you do? I'd love to know more about you. And they're asking me to give them, they're by asking me, in essence, that's giving me permission to go tell them more about what I do and get into my expertise. And I already know before I sent that initial friend request 2 days earlier that this person is a business owner, is an agency, is an advertiser, is a roofer, is a plumber, whatever. I've done my homework on why and how I'm sending these friend requests. And now when I message them, it's a friendly conversation. When they ask what I do, then they're like, oh, Ray, you provide, cheaper leads and high quality marketing to roofers. I actually run a roofing business and our team has got suckered by a couple agencies. I'd love to hear about what you do. And it's a smooth transition because again, this whole approach. So very, very simply, you know, sending out 10 requests, 10 new DMs, 20 total DMs, about 15 friend requests, and posting about 3 posts per day in social media. Guys, believe it or not, I did this every day in about 1 to 2 hours of total time out of my day. I've sped it up and I got even quicker and faster with it. And we all know that there's AI and VAs and technology that can help with some of this stuff, but it's not overly time consuming once you understand the approach and the strategy behind it. But by the simple method metrics in columns B through E, so 4 simple columns, 10 new DMs, 20 total DMs, 15 friend requests, and 3 post publish, very quickly leads to call bookings, which ultimately leads to closed deals. It's tough to close deals if we're not booking calls. So this is a very, very simple example. This is one of my DM setters that implemented it and started tracking it, and she wasn't here too long. Unfortunately, she got ill and I haven't really spoken with her too much lately, but she found some other opportunities. But it was funny. how that first day is the only day she was really close to the recommended. You see in line 2 the minimum requirements, but you could see in line 4 when she said on January 9th of 2025 she did 11 of these, she did 21 of these, she did 12 of these, and she did a couple posts. She booked a call that day. Really good, right? Off a couple hours of work and some posts and some DMs, she booked a call. And then I also recommend listing the posts that we the groups that we post in, because you're going to start to realize if you do this for about 3 weeks consistently, you're going to start to realize, hey, the days I post in this group, this group, and this group is leading to more call bookings or is leading to closed deals. And then you could double down and you start creating more posts in the effective groups. And the ones that aren't effective, you filter out and you try some new ones until you have all winning groups. Same thing I said earlier with like ad and creative that doesn't work and how we kind of shelve it and then reassess it and reintroduce it. Same thing here, right? You can do the same thing here. But then I could see every other day below that as she carried on into February, some more of maybe January's numbers there. I don't see another day where she hit any of the prerequisites, maybe in the post published category, which is great, but she wasn't sending out many DMs or friend requests. She wasn't hitting the minimum required metrics. And all of a sudden, she stopped booking calls. First day she did it, she followed the metrics and she did book a call. And she probably could have booked more because, again, it all starts to snowball, but it's contingent upon consistently doing the minimum required metrics. When we start to back our foot off the pedal, we're going to start to see a lot of zeros in the column G and H, the ones that are going to get stuff booked on our calendar and get us paid, right? So also thought that was really, kind of insightful if, again, going back to the basics. So what I want to do here is copy this link, drop it in the chat, and anybody that feels like they're going to be doing any Facebook, LinkedIn, DM, social media posting, and outreach. Utilize this very, very simple little spreadsheet. Again, 4 or 5 columns to track very basic metrics. And that's really how you get started. And that kind of piggybacks off of what I showed in that tutorial that I dropped here earlier that I recommended, the YouTube tutorial, where it basically is starting your DaaS agency from scratch. I'm mentioning email and LinkedIn outreach. If I'm doing LinkedIn outreach, I'm probably utilizing this document and kind of double checking my numbers. So I went a little over and I don't mind staying a few more minutes, but I want to also leave time for a Q&A. So is there anything either I discussed on today's workshop that you guys have questions on, number one, or did you come here for a specific question and I just didn't dive in and give you the opportunity to speak yet? You can either unmute and go right into it since there's so few people, or you can type a 1 in the chat if you want me to call on you. But again, any questions, feedback on today's workshop and what I covered, or just overall sales and why you hopped on today's call? I'll be silent for a minute and let you guys either chime in and unmute or type a 1 in the chat. Go ahead.
Hey, quick question. What is on sheet 2 of the prospect sheet, the DM setting you just dropped?
I think that's where everybody can go make their own copy. The first one is supposed to be just kind of like the template, and then sheet 2 is where you can go fill in your name and make your own copy, I believe. Let me go back and look, though. I don't even remember on this one, to be honest. Oh, that was something. So what happens is, because I want you guys to be able to edit and make your own copy, I left edit access. One of my setters probably filled this in. I didn't even fill out sheet 2, Greg. I think somebody edited and added to this because I left edit access open. I don't remember ever doing that sheet 2, so I'm not familiar. I don't think it was me. I think somebody else added to this. That's why I didn't even know about it. So good question. Yeah, yeah. Normally what I do is I make sheet 1 uneditable. It's just a template, and then everybody can, then I put a sheet 2, and that's the one you can make your own copy and, and start to edit and add your own metrics. I left this one just editor friendly to anybody that downloads it. So people went in and probably added onto it.
Okay. One more. I'm not sure. Just
Good.
you have a check-in email that gets sent every so many weeks, and there's a
Okay.
big blue button that says "click here to check in," and it goes to a blank page. That's not working.
Oh, that's pretty helpful. Well, thank you for the feedback. Now, hold on. Check in email and call to action. I can run through this and troubleshoot it here later this afternoon, Greg.
Cool.
I wasn't aware of that, so I didn't know of the problem until now. Anytime you guys bring problems to my attention, I truly appreciate it, and I go dive into this and funnel hack it myself, and then my team will go in and fix it. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, though. I got to say, I don't open all my client check-in emails, so thank you for that. Awesome. Anybody else have anything? And if not, we'll end it here. I know we just went a little over an hour, but again, I tried to keep this really relevant. That's why I wanted to start by asking you guys where you were at. Like, if all of you guys typed a 1 on today and said I'm consistently booking calls, I would have took this a whole nother route today and focused more on that side of things. But since nobody put in a 1, I figured let's go back to some of the basics and the fundamentals and things I literally work on with every client or every DM setter or the way I started my companies, and just give you guys those resources and assets. So awesome, guys. All right. Well, we will continue and meet here again next week, Tuesday, same time, same bad channel, as I always say. Thank you for your participation, questions. Thank you both, Greg, and earlier, I'm sorry, who was it earlier? Brandon, for unmuting and chiming in and being part of the presentation as well. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you here next week. And as I always say, last thing, I will have this replay uploaded into our school community, into the sales channel before the end of the day today, if anyone wants to go back and rewatch anything. All right, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.